Hey everyone. I think today's session is very intimate. Only few folks were able to join, but thank you for joining me today. Anyway, for those of you attending this session for the first time, I'm Judy Piper. I'm an engineering lead at Labs, and it's a company that's building Celo, and I'm also the host for this Celo Tech Talk series. Celo is a mobile-first blockchain, a full-stack blockchain platform with a mission to build a financial system that creates conditions of prosperity for everyone. This is an ambitious mission and project. So everyone at Labs, we work on Celo together with the Celo community. For this reason, we started the Celo Tech Talks to share and spread the Celo technology knowledge with the growing Celo community. We'd love to hear from the community members, so please feel free to use the comment section to say hello and share where you are joining us from and your learning goals as well. And if you are, you might have questions, but we would have Q&A sessions at the end of this talk. So, but you can use ask a question menu on your bottom of your screen to add your questions anytime. A friendly reminder, though, to be respectful to other Celo community members and the presenter who joined us today out of their busy schedule to help grow this learning community. Please scope your questions to the topic today. And last 3 sessions were all about building dApps on Celo. So if you missed them and you want to learn more about how to build your dApps on Celo, you can watch them. They are available on Celo Tech Talks playlist on the Celo.org's YouTube channel. As promised, I'm excited to have Barbara, developer experience engineering lead at Labs, back with us today to show us how you can put your existing Ethereum dApps onto Celo. Barbara, welcome back. And before we get started, for folks who are meeting you for the first time, if you can share a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Yeah. So good morning, everyone. Morning for me, or afternoon or evening for wherever you are. I am Barbara Liao. I currently lead the developer experience engineering team at Labs. What we do at DevX is we focus on building and providing the tools and resources to developers like yourself so that you can build applications on the Celo blockchain. Prior to joining Labs and working on Celo, I worked at Sumo, which is, was a small startup that I co-founded, and we worked on cross-chain interoperability. And so it gave me the chance to work on a lot of different chains and be part of the crypto ecosystem. Which was a great experience, and I'm able to take that knowledge of different blockchains and apply it to Celo. On a personal side, as you can see from my photo, I better share this presentation. I think it's this one. Yep. As you can see here, this is my dog, Ulrich. I also have another one. His name is Dietrich. They are 6 months and 2 years old, and so I need a new picture. But I have 2 of them, so they keep me busy. They're part of my busy schedule. But I'm happy to join you guys, and I know that this was a heavily requested talk, and we're going to try to cover a lot of stuff here during this presentation. And we're not going to go into terms of how to set up your environment and everything. We covered that in this series of building your dApps. So just to recap that, we had previously discussed how do you set up your development environment so that you can develop on the Celo blockchain. We talked about the different tools and smart contracts and how to write them. And then today we're going to talk about hey, it's okay, great. I know how to, now I have what I need to build on the Celo blockchain, but what if I already built something on Ethereum? I don't want to have to rewrite everything. I want to be able to use that. And what's great about this talk is, well, I'm going to show you just an overview of here's all the steps that you need to take to port your existing Ethereum dApp onto Celo, where you can take advantage of all the different things available on the Celo blockchain And I think most importantly that it's a mobile first blockchain, and being able to take your web app and like make it onto a mobile application expands your outreach in quite a significant way. You will literally be able to like have your application be in the hands of users, right? It's not going to be on their laptop or computer. It's going to be like in their hands on their phone. And they'll be able to carry it with them wherever they are. So I don't know about you, but like I have my phone all the time. I take it pretty much everywhere. Cool. So let me go ahead here. So today, yeah, we're gonna do a quick intro into Celo and the benefits, which is just really like I think it's important to answer that question, which is why should I move to Celo? Like I have this Ethereum DApp, why like move to Celo? We're gonna talk about the different tools that you'll need to make the move and then to connect the pieces, how to migrate smart contracts, wallets and that are available, and then go from web to mobile. So Celo is a permissionless platform that makes financial tools accessible to anyone with a mobile phone. Judy talked about that just barely, and Celo is all about empowering and meeting the needs of all people. And so a lot of that is not only like decentralized cryptocurrencies and blockchain. That's like a big goal, is like crypto and value for the people. But we need to make that accessible. And a lot of other solutions right now, that accessibility is limited by your hardware. You're limited by the way that you can connect to those blockchains. And they weren't developed with mobile first in mind. And that's like a key thing. That's why Celo is built from layer one all the way to like user facing, because there's a lot of different things in each of the layers of the stack and design decisions that need to go in so that everything is going to like support being on mobile. It's not just enough to like put your application on mobile. The protocol and like the size and how and the speed of the transactions and block times, all of that is important to make things accessible. And not only that, like I kind of touched on this too, is this allows you to like get your application to so many more people. Like billions of people have smartphones, and that's a huge market that you can tap into. So we need to first answer this question: why should you build on Celo? Merrick actually, one of the co-founders of C Labs, he wrote a great blog post recently titled that "Why Build on the Celo Blockchain." So I encourage you to read that. And there's a lot more technical details into the design decisions that he discusses. But we're just going to kind of go over like the highlights and key points. So why do we want to build on Celo? Too far. So first thing to think about is gas prices. So gas prices are affordable. It's measured in cents, and actually, if I double check, but like fractions of cents, which is vastly different from other, from Ethereum. So rising gas prices is a huge familiar theme too, and like a fluctuation. So current gas prices, I looked up this morning on Ethereum, they range between $3.51 to $7.94, which is essentially the range of like a cup of coffee to really expensive cup of coffee. And to put this into context of why this is a lot, but also maybe not a lot, depending on how you think about it, is if you send a traditional bank wire, the cost of that is typically 20 to 40 US dollars. And that's not bad. So that decrease in price is not bad. Like, okay, sweet, I can like send money for $4 or $8 versus $20 or $40. That's great. But you don't send wires for small amounts of money. Like you're not going to spend $8 to send $4. And so rising gas prices severely limits the type of transactions that you can make. I'm not going to spend my Ethereum and like or use an application to buy a cup of coffee because I'm going to pay the price of the cup of coffee and like twice. So this limits the capabilities. And so in order to move decentralized payment processing into everyday life, it needs to be affordable to send smaller amounts. It cannot be extremely expensive to send. So another reason is that Celo enables users to pay for gas in a stable currency. So in Ethereum, there's a plethora of tokens and applications. There's, I don't know how many ERC20 tokens there are, but even if you don't use ETH to in your application, you have to use ETH to pay for gas. This is how Ethereum is designed. It is like a part of it. You would have to like redesign it in order to allow payments in other cryptocurrencies or tokens. And because of this, like the price of ETH rises and falls, like you said, and you don't want to like paying for something that's using a volatile asset is not fun, right? Like we all know, or most of us are probably familiar with the famous story of like the guy who bought pizza for like 10,000 Bitcoin, because Bitcoin at the time was like, I don't know, like 10 cents or something. It was like super cheap. And so if you were to convert that value, it would be like 10 US dollars. But now 10,000 Bitcoin is significantly more than $10 because it's a volatile asset and the price changes fluctuate. And so you don't want to make payments with assets that aren't stable. And so Celo, another benefit of Celo is that it enables users to pay for gas in a stable currency. You're not going to have these wild fluctuations when you're choosing to pay. And the other thing that's great about Celo is it allows you to pay with different currencies. You can choose to pay with Celo, which is the native currency, which does have price fluctuations. It not quite as drastic at the time as of now, but it does fluctuate. Or you can choose to pay with a stable asset. Like so, Celo currently supports CUSD, but there's plans to add additional stable assets. And this is really great too, because users around the world, typically you want to, and I know I do, I want to pay for things in my own native currency. Yes, I can convert things, but that's a lot of like mental math and like extra effort that I don't really want to go through of, oh, hey, like I want to pay for this. It's going to cost me £1. And it's like, oh, I have to like calculate what does £1 mean like to me in US dollars. And so there's just like complication in terms of like converting value. So this ease of like being able to pay for different currencies is really nice. And so we're working on providing more stable assets that will be available. The other thing that's great about Celo is that it maps complicated hex addresses to phone numbers. So it is, in other words, it is easy to identify accounts and who you're sending money to. So this is like a hex address right here, right? 0x2 EC70D3, blah, blah, blah. Like if you are trying to send money to somebody or giving your address, you need to like verify this and make sure. And this is a complicated thing and it's quite intimidating, especially for a user to see and have to interact with on a daily basis. And how many times have we struggled with this and like, oh my gosh, like what is it? Like, oh, or like even like a UI, like this thing doesn't even fit on the screen. And so part of like adoption needs to abstract this away. And one thing that we worked on at Celo is we have a lightweight identity program. We're able to like use user phone numbers and map those in a secure way. And there's a great Celo Tech Talk that dives into that, talks more about the protocol. But just know that this is something that Celo can do. And so this is way easier. You can like send money to your friend because you know their phone number. It's a lot easier to verify and to memorize and to know that people are sending it to you. Another benefit is confirmation times. So how long do we have to wait to know that a transaction went through? So bringing it back to like where we started from, traditional banks, sending funds between accounts can take 2 to 3 business days to confirm. So this is not using like PayPal or Venmo or anything like that. This is, I want to send from my bank to your bank. It can take 2, 3 business days to confirm, which means if something happens on like a Friday or Thursday, it can take like 4 to 5 days to happen because you have to wait over a weekend. So while like Bitcoin and Ethereum, like transaction confirmations, those are measured in minutes, which is like a huge improvement over days, right? And even if they were measured in hours, that would still be a huge improvement. And so like that's a great evolution. But still, this isn't fast enough for everyday consumer transactions. Uh, you know how like if you go to the store and you like swipe your credit card, then you have to wait, I don't know, more than 5 seconds, 10 seconds, however long. You get like impatient. You're like, is it working? I don't know. And so in order, but you know, like it's fairly quick. You give them the card, they swipe it, you wait a little bit, it confirms, and you're good to go. And so in order for there to be like mass adoption to use digital cryptocurrencies for payments, we need to be able to match that, if not beat it. And so Celo, because it's been redesigned and rebuilt with this in mind, it's able to confirm these within seconds, which is like so much faster than minutes, right? This means that I am able to go to the store, make a payment, and be able to leave in the same amount of time as it would for me to use, you know, to use a credit card. And so these are all the different things. Just like summary with this, you don't. Celo is built with that mobile specific protocol features. It's designed all the way from the bottom um, protocol layer all the way to like the user's hands, like how it's going to interact. And while Celo is like heavily indebted to like all the blockchains before, and there's been huge strides in this industry, they weren't created with this specifically in mind. And there's always trade-offs when you're designing something. You have to like make these design decisions. You just can't have everything. And so when you have this goal in mind, you're able to make those decisions and make sure that the ones that you're making lead towards this like mobile first capabilities. And so this is what I think like huge benefit of Celo and why you might want to move over and get your application into the hands of more users. So just a couple, so this is just like a quick like overview, like, so for example, gas price, like significantly different. These I just pulled off of today, like how much it would cost in Gwei for the gas price. Celo has more ways to pay for gas, the different currencies. Addresses with Ethereum, you can't map, anything to the, or rather the addresses are not mapped to something that's easily identifiable. Block times are a lot faster, and the design was made for mobile first. Okay, so this isn't like to trash on any other blockchain. It's simply that this is like an evolution, I think, in the design of blockchains. And not only that, like Ethereum is a huge pioneer in the space, and Celo is, shares that ancestry. And Celo wouldn't be here if it weren't for the strides and like the vision and progress in the community of Ethereum. And the other benefit too of that is building on Celo is like building on Ethereum. So they share similar tools, languages, and concepts. And so, which is great because if you're an Ethereum developer, you're able to like use your current skills to still develop as you normally would. You would just be doing it with mobile first in mind and on the Celo blockchain. But it is similar, but that does mean that there are some differences. And so we'll kind of talk about those right now. So way back when, in my first talk, in the part 1 of the building your first app on Celo, we did a quick overview of Web 2 versus Web 3 architecture and the differences. So, and over the course of those other talks, we focused on like these pieces of like a smart contract, blockchain, and like crypto wallet. So we discussed how these pieces might differ between the two and how to use them. But today, we actually need to talk about the connections between the two. Since we're moving from Web3 to Web3, the pieces are the same in how they like function and like what they are. But what's different are how do we get that information from one piece to the other. And so the way we do that is going to be slightly different, but it's going to feel pretty similar if you used to before. So I think a good analogy of this is the action, the function, everything is the same, but the tool is different. So instead of nails, we're going to use screws. And I think, I don't know, I thought that was like, for me, that was a nice way to click because a lot of times they're the same. And maybe if you've never like built stuff, they look and function very similarly, but they are not the same thing at all. And you're going to use them in different ways for different things. But the application, the application of the tools is like, I want to hold this thing together. I want to hold two pieces together. So let's talk about some of the differences and similarities between the tools. So on the Ethereum side, we have Web3.js, Ether.js. So how do we talk to our smart contracts from our application? And so Celo, because there are some differences, we've actually have a tool, a library called Contract Kit, which does wrap around Web3, but there are some additional methods that need to be used. But that also means that you can still use Web3 methods using Contract Kit. So that's going to feel pretty similar. Oops, there is Dap Kit. This is something, I don't think that there is something similar on the Ethereum side. So this is something that's a little bit different. So this is specific to like mobile development. There's how do I view my information on a nice like graphical interface? So one tool, I know that there are several, but one Ethereum tool would be like Etherscan. And on the Celo side, there's Block Scout. And this is a way that we can see what's happening on chain. There's wallets. How do we send and how do we sign transactions? Many of you are probably familiar with MetaMask or my Ether wallet, excuse me, or Mu. And then Celo side, it would be like Celo wallet of Valora. And here's what's fun here is development framework for Truffle, it's the exact same. There's going to be like some configuration differences, which is going to be the case if you are connecting to a different network. But that's going to be the same. That doesn't change. Then there's like Ganache. There's a slight difference, which because we have to make some changes for the transaction side, but Ganache is going to feel similar. And then there's Solidity, which is the smart contract language. It's the same. So you don't need to like learn another language to do smart contract development on Celo. Okay, so there's a famous quote from, oh, I'm so sorry if I get this wrong. I think it's Marie Antoinette. We're back in like the French Revolution where she says this quote of like, have your cake and eat it. Or no, that's let them eat cake. Sorry, I'm like mixing up my things. But there is an idiom, a saying of you can't have your cake and eat it too. But in this case, you can have your Dap and eat it too. You can have the benefits and the tooling of Ethereum, and you can have the benefits of Celo. So I think it's a great like thing that you can have here. So again, just to like reiterate, like Celo is a fork of the Go Ethereum code base, which means it's fully EVM compatible, at least up to the latest fork. And this means that like your signature schemes or pre-compiles, any Truffle tools you're used to, they're going to work. They're going to feel familiar. So you don't need to completely rewrite your stuff. Cool. So now that we're like convinced that we should move our Dap over, like how do we do that? What are like actual steps that we can take? So let's start from the bottom of the stack, right? So there's smart contracts, blockchain. Okay, we decide we're using the blockchain, so that's check. Then the next thing on the layer is contracts. After that, you would have probably like then you would have your actual like UI interface, and then you have like crypto wallet stuff. So those are like the pieces that we need. So we're gonna first talk about smart contract. So how do I get my smart contract onto the Celo blockchain? This is the key piece, I think, that, and luckily is like quite easy to do, because the smart contract is like the meat of your decentralized application. It contains the business logic of your DApp. It interacts with the blockchain, and it writes permanent state, which is a very like weighty task. You're using permanent marker when you're doing this, and so there's a lot of thought that needs to go into the logic of your smart contract, and having to rewrite that is less than ideal. And so luckily you don't have to rewrite your smart contract. In fact, all you really have to do is update your Truffle config to point to the Celo blockchain. You run your migration as you normally would, indicating the network that you want to go to. And then you should just be able to see your smart contract deployed on Celo, which is like pretty great. And so just look at that really quick. So here's like a basic Truffle config. You have like the different networks. And so what you would do is just like update the networks that you would point to. You want to point to a Celo blockchain network. Either you can run one locally, you can point to a testnet, or you can point to mainnet. So oops, sorry guys. I'm using a new mouse. It's very sensitive. So we're going to look at this. These are the new things that we would have to do. So we're going to change and add like a new network. We're going to call it Alpha Juarez. Alpha Juarez is the testnet on Celo, similar to like Ropsten or like Wrinkleby on Ethereum. So we need to set like the network that we want. We do need to pass in the Celo provider and set the network ID. So in order to access the Celo provider, we will need to install Contract Kit and Web3 to get that. So it's pretty easy though in terms of how you do this. It's just several lines. So you're going to install Contract Kit. You're going to require it into the Truffle config. Install Web3, require Web3. Then you're going to connect to the desired network using Web3 and instantiate an instance. And then you're going to instantiate Contract Kit, an instance of Contract Kit with the Web3 connection. You pass that into the provider property and call kit.connection.web3.current provider. And this will like take care of all that fun stuff in the background. Then all you have to do is after that is run the Truffle migrate just as you normally would. Like you probably run like Truffle migrate -s network development -s network, whatever you like called your network. And so then all your migration scripts would run as they normally would. And then you would just be able to see your smart contract would be on the Celo blockchain. And that's pretty much it in terms of porting your smart contract over. You verify that using a tool like Celo CLI to view the state of the blockchain on just on your command line, or you can visit blockchain, or excuse me, the Block Scout to see that like pop up on a graphical user interface. And so it's like pretty easy. So that's like probably that's the easiest one, and that's like the key to getting your stuff onto the Celo blockchain. You just run it like you normally would. So now we need to move from smart contracts, starting to get into the client side of the application. So there are some differences with between Celo and Ethereum. One key one is the way that transactions are created. Sorry, one sec. I think one of my slides is not here. Oh, actually, sorry. Yeah, I just want to talk about Contract Kit for a second. So because of the tooling, because of the changes, we did need to create a new library to handle all that. And even though like Web3 was created, intended to be used with Ethereum, because Celo shares that ancestry, we can still use the majority of the Web3 features. And so actually, as you saw from that other example, you pass in Web3 instance, and internally Contract Kit uses Web3. And so because of this, a lot of the stuff is similar. And there's also other things that Contract Kit does, which is give you additional features that are specific to the Celo blockchain, such as accessing like certain utilities and Otis, which is the identity protocol, and also changes the way that we send and sign transactions. And by change the way, I just mean like there's some properties that are present on the transaction object that don't exist on Ethereum. So these are the 3 properties that are new. So we mentioned that there's the ability on the Celo blockchain to choose how do I want to make how do I want to pay my gas? What currency do I want to use? Which means that we need to like denote, we need to have a property to indicate that. The other thing that's new is gateway fee recipient and gateway fee. And this has to do with like the clients and like who passes on the messages. This is essentially like a messaging fee. So in order to pass messages along, to encourage people to run nodes, this is like an incentive for them. So they'll be paid for relaying messages on. And so because there are these 3 new properties, we can't use web3.eth.send transaction or like contract.methods.transfer.send because Web3 doesn't handle these additional properties. And so instead of using web3.eth.send transaction, you would just call kit.send transaction. And instead of calling mycontract.methods.transfer.send, what we recommend doing is setting like the name of your contract here, and then you would call kit._web3 contracts the name of your token, or excuse me, of the contract. And that way we wrap it because you, because you want to be able to use the right methods. But RPC calls will work as expected. You would just need to make sure that you use the kits instance of Web3, and you can set that to Web3 variable. That way you won't need to go through all your code and manually update everything to say like kit.web3.eth.getBalance. You can just keep it like this, and then your written code would work as expected. So this is a quick overview of that. Update Truffle Config, do the migration, update the way that you send transactions, and then you can also reset the variable so you don't have to manually go and change everything. Awesome. So now that we've like gotten like that would be your logic on your application, on your client side application. Now you need to like update what your user sees. You have the choice to leave it as a web app, so you wouldn't need to update the UI to leave it as is. Or you can switch to mobile, in which case maybe you want to rewrite your app in React Native, maybe you want to rewrite it in Vue Native, maybe you want to write it in something else. And so that's kind of up to you as the developer to decide how you want to go from here. Yes, we like have built everything in terms of like making this mobile first friendly, and that's what we encourage you to do. But we also understand that that is quite a heavy lift. Like even if we were in Web3 land, if we were just Web 2 to Web 2, making a mobile app, going from a web app to a mobile app, there's a lot of work involved. But that's going to be like very familiar to you as a Web 2 developer. So similarly with this is just determining how you want your user to interact with your application. But depending on what you choose to do, either way, you'll also need to update like which wallet you interact with. And the choice that you make in terms of like your user interface will probably influence the wallet connection that you have. for most of the web apps, you're probably connecting to something like MetaMask. And on the Celo side, you would connect, typically we recommend connecting with like Valora, which is a mobile wallet that C-Labs have built and maintains. And that's the one that if you're doing like mobile development, that's the one that we recommend using. However, there are a lot of other different types of wallets. So you can choose, and our community is working on several different options for you. So one good website that has like a list of projects would be celohub.org. So this is just showing like a couple of different projects where you can, that wallets to make payments. So if you decide to go full mobile route, the full, I'd have them just like go all in on the full mobile experience. We do have something called Dap Kit, and this is built with Expo, which is a React Native framework in mind. And this makes it easy to sign transactions using wallet deep linking. And so right now, Dap Kit is only works with Expo, but we do have plans to make this framework agnostic so that you can use other frameworks that you choose. So some of you have probably seen this example of a mobile Dap, but this is just going through the flow of, let's pretend this is your app, you've migrated your smart contracts, you've updated your UI to be mobile. And you would be, and then using Dap Kit, you can connect your application to Valora and send transactions and sign transactions. And so that's like a lot of stuff to cover. And so we want to help give you the resources that you need. And so there's several resources that we have to help get you started with Dap development. Josh Kreitz, he's one of our developer relations over at C-Labs, fantastic in terms of, he's done a lot of tutorials and starter kits. And so that would be great to visit that if you just want to see how it works. We also have a Dap gallery that's currently on our docs page to see examples of some stuff that the community has built. Celohub.org also has several Daps listed there. And if you want to take your Dap, from just sitting here and you want like to get more users and you want to like really lean into it, we do have Celo Camp, which is a virtual blockchain accelerator for companies and individual startups building dApps on the Celo blockchain, as well as we have the grants program that supports projects that are committed to Celo's mission, and where you're able to get funding to build those projects. And we're always want to like get to know you guys more. We're take your feedback very seriously, and we're grateful when you're able to give it. And so here's different ways that you can connect with us. Of course, we have Twitter, and then we have our documentation, and then you can see our code on GitHub. Yeah, you can check out like our website to build on Celo. Oh, so another question is like, sweet, like, what can I do now? I'm super stoked to do this. If you happen to be going to ETH Denver, which is starting tomorrow, we will be there. And so you can hack with us through this. And you want to move your like stuff, your Dap over. So you can join us at ETH Denver, as well as we have our Make It Mobile Hackathon starting at the end of this month, February 27th, goes until April. So we'd love to have you join for one or both of them, so that we can hack together and get your dApps into the hands of users. So for more like tech talks like this, just make sure to subscribe and follow us on Twitter at Celo.org, and you can get information on upcoming Celo Tech Talks. I don't know if I'm supposed to introduce this, but I'm going to. So the next Celo Tech Talk is going to be given by York Rhodes. He is an engineering person on protocol. So he's going to be talking about contract release.
Yeah, it's not going to be Thursday. It's going to be on Friday because we have on Thursday, on February 18th, we have a Connect event, which is also the Celo community event. And I don't want to compete with the audiences.
Awesome.
So, yeah, come to that
So you guys
event,
have a-
Connect, and the next day you come to learn about the contract releases.
Yeah, so that would be great. You can have a back-to-back.
That's right. We're going to take a Q&A, but there's no question. Also, you can feel free to comment to screen. Do we have any audience have a question? Going once, going twice. All right. Thank you everyone for joining. See you next Celo Tech Talks. And thank you, Barbara.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.